The message came in at 7:14 p.m. on a Thursday in September. Our 10th wedding anniversary. Stuck on a call with the Denver office. Might run late. Order without me. I'll grab something on the way home. Love you so much. Happy 10 years. 3 words that meant nothing and everything. Love you so much. I read it twice in the parking lot of a restaurant called Hollis and Vine, a quiet little bistro in the Elmwood district of Charleston, sitting in the passenger seat of my own car because I'd let the valet take the keys 10 minutes earlier, expecting to walk in with my husband beside me. I was wearing a green dress I'd bought 2 weeks before, off the clearance rack because a woman married to a mid-level construction estimator doesn't go shopping at full price. Not when there are 2 kids in braces and a mortgage that eats a third of every paycheck. But I'd wanted to look like a woman worth coming home to on her 10th anniversary. I'd gotten my hair done that afternoon. I'd bought Derek a card, the kind with a stupid pun on the front that always made him laugh. And inside I'd written 4 paragraphs about the life we'd built. The 2 kids we'd raised, the house we'd fought for. The version of us that had survived everything a decade throws at 2 people who choose each other every single day. I almost turned around and drove home. I almost texted back something short and understanding, the way I always did, because that's what a good wife does when her husband works hard to keep a roof over their family. I'd done it 100 times before. Stuck late. Big project. I'll make it up to you. But something in me, some small ember of stubbornness I didn't know I still had, made me get out of the car instead. I'd made the reservation 3 weeks ago. I'd paid the deposit. And more than that, I was tired. Tired of always being the one who understood, the one who waited, the one who rearranged her whole evening around someone else's schedule and called it love. So I walked into Hollis and Vine alone on my 10th wedding anniversary, in my green dress holding a card with a stupid pun on the front, and I told the hostess it would just be me tonight. She seated me near the window. I ordered a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. I opened the menu and I looked up, before we go deeper into the story. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. If you have a second, drop a comment and tell me where you are listening from and what time it is there. It means more than you know. And there he was, not stuck on a call in Denver. Not anywhere near Denver. Sitting at a corner booth 20 feet away, in the shirt I had ironed for him that very morning, laughing at something the woman across from him had said. The woman was Vanessa Cade, his boss, the regional director who had hired him 18 months ago, who called the house sometimes at odd hours about a project, who Derek talked about with a kind of reverence I'd stopped noticing until right now. Watching her reach across the table and rest her hand over his on the white tablecloth like it belonged there. He leaned in. She said something. He laughed. The real laugh. The one I used to earn by doing nothing more than existing next to him in the kitchen at midnight. And then he kissed her. Not a friendly peck. A slow, certain kiss, the kind that comes from familiarity, from history, from 1,000 small moments I hadn't been invited to. I couldn't feel my hands. The restaurant noise folded into a single ringing tone. I stood up so fast my chair scraped the floor, and I took 2 steps toward that booth with every intention of turning, that white tablecloth into a weapon, a hand closed around my wrist. Sit back down, a voice said. Calm. Female. Certain in a way that stopped me colder than a shout would have. I turned. A woman I had never seen in my life stood beside my table. Mid-40s, dark blazer, hair pulled back tight. The kind of stillness in her face that belongs to people who have spent their careers learning not to react. I know exactly who that man is, she said. And I know exactly what's happening at that table. I need you to sit down, because in about 20 minutes the real show starts, and I need you conscious for it. Her name was Renata Sokol. She handed me a business card with 2 fingers, the way you'd hand someone evidence rather than an introduction. Private investigator, it read. Licensed in the state of South Carolina. I was hired 4 months ago, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. By a woman named Colette Ashford. Does that name mean anything to you? It didn't. It would within the hour. Colette Ashford is the ex-wife of the man your husband works for. Not Vanessa Cade, her boss. Weldon Ashford, founder and majority owner of Ashford Cade Development. Vanessa runs the regional office, but Weldon built the company, and when he and Colette divorced 2 years ago, the settlement included something unusual, a fidelity penalty clause. If Vanessa, his business partner and, at the time, his fiancée, was found to have engaged in another workplace affair within 3 years of the split, Colette would be owed an additional $4 million, because the affair that ended Colette's marriage to Weldon was with an employee at that same company. I stared at her. 2 tables away, a waiter refilled Derek's water glass. My anniversary card sat crumpled in my lap. I don't understand what any of that has to do with my husband, I said. It has everything to do with your husband, Renata said, because Vanessa Cade has been paying him. She reached into a leather folio and slid a single page across the table. A bank statement. An account at a credit union I'd never heard of, opened 11 months ago, in Derek's name alone. Monthly deposits of $6,200, each one labeled consulting fee, from an entity called Cade Strategic Partners LLC. A shell company, Renata said. No employees, no clients, no purpose except funneling money to your husband in exchange for his silence, his time, and apparently his affection. 11 months, a little over $68,000. I looked at the number until it stopped looking like a number and started looking like a wound. $68,000. The same 11 months our daughter had needed a tutor we said we couldn't afford. The same 11 months I'd taken a second part-time job doing the church's bookkeeping to help cover the girls' braces. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Your client is Colette. What do you get from ruining my night? I'm not trying to ruin your night, Renata said, and for the first time her voice softened, just slightly. I'm trying to make sure that when this comes apart, and it is coming apart tonight, it comes apart on your terms instead of theirs. My case is about triggering that fidelity clause. Your husband and Vanessa Cade are the evidence. But everything I've gathered belongs to whoever needs it, and right now, that's you. 10 minutes ago, I wasn't planning on speaking to you at all, but I watched you almost flip that table, and I decided you deserved better than a scene that gets used against you in a custody hearing 6 months from now. Custody, I repeated, and the word landed like a stone in my stomach. I hadn't even gotten as far as thinking about custody. I hadn't gotten past the image of my husband's mouth on another woman's mouth. You have 2 children, Renata said. It wasn't a question. A boy, 12. A girl, 9. I know because I've been watching this company and your husband for 4 months. I know his schedule better than you do right now, which is exactly why I'm telling you. Go home tonight. Say nothing. Let me finish what I started. By morning, you'll have everything you need. The account records, the messages, the hotel logs, and your attorney will know precisely what to do with it. Let me back up, because none of this makes sense unless you understand who I was before that Thursday night. My name is June Halloway. Halloway was my maiden name, and I've started using it again, which will make sense soon enough. I grew up in North Charleston, raised by my father after my mother left when I was 6. My dad worked the docks for 31 years, came home every night smelling like salt and diesel, and never once missed a school recital. Even the ones where I stood in the back row of the choir wearing a costume made from a bedsheet. He taught me one thing above everything else, that a person's word is the only currency that matters, because everything else can be taken from you. I became a hospital scheduling coordinator, the person who calls to confirm your surgery time and tells you not to eat after midnight. Steady work, not glamorous. I liked knowing that in a small way, every day, I helped things run the way they were supposed to. I met Derek Voss in 2014 at a mutual friend's cookout. Back when he was 26 and working construction crews by day and finishing his estimating certification by night. He had calluses on his hands and dust on his boots, and he made me laugh so hard at that cookout I spilled sweet tea down the front of my shirt. And instead of being embarrassed for me, he laughed too and got me a fresh shirt from his truck. We married in 2016. Small wedding at a chapel outside Mount Pleasant. 70 guests. My father walking me down the aisle in the only suit he owned. crying so hard the minister had to pause. For 8 years, it was good. Not a fairy tale. We fought about money, about whose turn it was to handle the girl's bedtime, about Derek's habit of leaving cabinet doors open like he expected the kitchen to finish putting itself away. But real, solid. The kind of marriage where you build a life brick by brick and don't stop to admire it because you're too busy living it. Derek took the estimator position at Ashford Cade 18 months before that anniversary dinner. It was a step up, better pay, a title with senior in it, a company car. He came home those first months glowing about the opportunity, about Vanessa Cade specifically, this sharp, magnetic regional director who'd taken a chance on him over candidates with fancier resumes. I was happy for him. I didn't notice, not for a long time, that the way he talked about her had started to shift, from admiration to something quieter, more careful. The way you talk about a secret you're protecting rather than a boss you respect. The distance crept in slowly, the way distance always does. Later nights, shorter conversations, a phone he started keeping face down. I told myself it was the promotion, the pressure, the ordinary wear of a marriage in its 10th year. I chose deliberately to fight for us instead of question it. I planned the anniversary dinner. I bought the green dress. I wrote the card with the stupid pun on the front. He filed all of that information away for a different evening, with a different woman in the same restaurant I'd chosen for us. The next morning, I called my cousin's husband, an attorney named Foster Pruitt, who'd handled 2 divorces for people at my church and had a reputation for being quiet. Thorough and merciless in exactly the right proportions. Walk me through it, he said. And I did, the anniversary, the text, the restaurant, Renata Sokol, Vanessa Cade, the fidelity clause, the shell company, the $68,000. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he set his pen down carefully, like he was giving the moment its due weight. How are you holding up? He asked. Like I spent 10 years building a house and just found out it was built on a sinkhole. That's about right, he said. Here's what we're going to do. South Carolina allows for fault-based divorce, and adultery is grounds. You're going to have documentation most attorneys would consider a gift. But the account is the real weapon. 11 months of concealed income from his employer's business partner, structured through a shell entity specifically to hide it from you. That's not just an affair. June. That's a pattern of deliberate financial deception during your marriage, and it's going to matter enormously for equitable distribution and for custody. Custody, I said again, the word still landing like a stone every time. A parent who has spent nearly a year systematically lying to their spouse, concealing significant income, and conducting a relationship with a superior at work is not a parent the court views as the picture of stability, Foster said. I'm going to push for primary custody. Given what you've told me, I like our position. What about her? Vanessa? She's not our problem directly, Foster said. But Colette Ashford's attorney is about to make her a very expensive one. And every piece of evidence Renata Sokol gathers about that affair becomes part of the record. The hotel visits, the payments, the timeline. The court sees the whole architecture of it, not just the parts that touch you. Renata delivered her file to Foster's office 6 days later, and it was, exactly as promised, complete. 31 time-stamped photographs across 3 months. Records of 9 separate visits to a hotel off Meeting Street, room 214, always booked under Cade Strategic Partners, LLC. The bank statements, all 11 months of them. Text messages obtained through the discovery process once the divorce filing was underway. Messages that made it clear this wasn't a moment of weakness but a structured, ongoing arrangement, one that Vanessa had run before, with a different subordinate, at a different company. Years earlier, Foster filed for divorce on a Tuesday in October. Derek was served at the office, in front of the glass-walled conference room where, according to Renata's file, he and Vanessa had held their consulting meetings. He came home that night shaking. June, what is this? Why would you do this? I was sitting at our kitchen table, the same table where our son did algebra homework, and our daughter drew endless pictures of horses. with a glass of water in front of me and nothing else. No documents, no accusations laid out like a trial, just the truth and the quiet certainty I'd built the way my father taught me to build anything worth having, carefully and once. "You know why?" I said. "Is this about me working late?" "June, the promotion has been—" "Stop," I said, and he stopped. "I was at Hollis and Vine on our anniversary. I saw you kiss her." The color left his face the way light leaves a room when the power cuts. Total, immediate, no warning. "You were there?" "I made a reservation for us. I sat 20 feet away and watched you kiss Vanessa Cade while the text you'd sent me about being stuck on a call was still open on my phone." I took a breath. 11 months. $68,000 in an account I didn't know existed, paid to you by a shell company your boss's business partner set up. 9 nights at a hotel on Meeting Street. I know everything, Derek. Not because I went looking. Because someone else was already watching, and they found you standing in the frame. He sat down across from me, not in a chair, but simply sank, the way a person does when their legs stop taking instructions from their brain. "The kids," he said. "June, please don't take the kids from me." "I'm not taking anything that isn't mine," I said. "But I'm not surrendering anything that is." The divorce took just under 6 months. Derek's attorney tried to argue the hidden account was a legitimate consulting arrangement. Foster answered that argument with the Cade Strategic Partners Incorporation documents, which showed no other clients, no other activity, and an address that traced back to a P.O. box Vanessa Cade had opened the same week the payments began. He tried to argue the affair was irrelevant to custody. Foster answered with the pattern: 11 months, concealment, deception woven into the fabric of everyday family life. All of it laid out on a timeline the judge read in silence for what felt like 10 minutes. The judge's ruling noted, almost word for word, what Foster had predicted: that a parent's demonstrated capacity for sustained deception was directly relevant to an assessment of custodial trustworthiness. I was awarded primary custody. Derek got alternating weekends and 1 weeknight dinner. The $68,000, frozen the week the divorce was filed, was split, with an additional adjustment in my favor to account for the year of financial concealment. The house stayed with me and the kids. Vanessa Cade's reckoning came almost in parallel. Colette Ashford's attorneys enforced the fidelity clause that spring. A judge found it valid and specific, and Vanessa owed her ex-husband's former wife $4 million. Ashford Cade lost 2 major clients within the month the story became known in Charleston's small, gossiping construction circles. Derek was let go from the company shortly after, not officially for the affair, which would have opened its own legal can of worms, but for restructuring, the same tidy word companies use whenever they need to remove the living reminder of an executive's worst decision. Renata Sokol sent one final note after the case closed. No flourish, just a single handwritten line at the bottom of her report. "You did the hard part." The waiting. Most people don't have it in them. I hope the next chapter is quieter than this one. She was right. It is. It's been a year now. Last month was it would have been our 11th anniversary. I didn't think about Hollis and Vine at all until I was halfway through writing this down for you. Instead, I took the kids to get ice cream at the pier and we watched the sunset over the harbor. And my daughter asked if we could get a dog. And I said maybe, which in our house means yes eventually. I still work at the hospital, still confirm surgery times, and remind strangers not to eat after midnight. My father, 72 now, retired from the docks but not from showing up, comes over on Sundays and fixes whatever's broken in the house before I even notice it's broken. He doesn't say much about what happened. He just shows up, the way he always has. And that says more than words could. My son is 13 now, taller than me, quietly protective in the way boys get when they've watched their mother hold a family together with her bare hands. My daughter is 10, still drawing horses, still fighting me on bedtime, still fundamentally unbothered by most of what the world throws at her, which I consider the greatest parenting achievement of my life so far. I think about that night at Hollis and Vine sometimes. Not the kiss. Not even Derek's face when the color drained out of it. I think about the 2 steps I took toward that table before Renata Sokol's hand closed around my wrist. I think about how close I came to turning myself into the villain of my own story, into the wife who made a scene, into the version of events Derek's attorney would have used against me for years. Instead, a stranger told me to sit down, and I listened. And the waiting did what my anger never could have. So let me ask you something. If you were sitting 20 feet from your spouse on your anniversary, watching them kiss someone else, what would you do? Would you flip the table? Would you make the scene every person in that restaurant would remember for the rest of their lives? Or would you sit back down, breathe, and let the truth do the work that rage never can? And the harder question, have you ever discovered a betrayal so complete it changed the way you understood your entire marriage? Not just the affair, but the whole hidden architecture underneath it. The money, the lies, the rehearsed excuses, the stuck-at-work text sent from a table 20 feet away. If you've lived through something like that, I want to hear how you survived it. Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story reached something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it tonight. Especially anyone sitting somewhere right now, watching something they don't want to see, wondering what to do next. Stay calm. The real show is about to start.